We got all that dug out, this first horizontal row and all the vertical in betweens, using both the Bosch and then Manuel to dress the corners, because sometimes you can't get in them tight little corners. And you got to be real gentle and careful with this blade, because if it hits the face of the porcelain, it'll take the porcelain right off. And then you're left with a scratched tile, which nobody likes. The dark in between the tile is where I got all the way down to the sheetrock. This is that lip. Remember I was telling you it's like a 2-inch lip? You see where it just kind of punched through there and there. But that ought to grout out real nice. I'll come in with a shop vac. I'm going to vacuum up all the dust and get some grout on this bead. What I'm kind of doing is intermixing to save time. I've cut these beadboard panels to the right height, 38.5 inches, plus the 4 inches of that, and then the top mold. Anyhow, while I cut that, I primed both sides. This is just bare plywood. Both sides, top, bottom, and edges, all primed. This one's dry, but while these pieces dry, I get in here and dig out a little more grout. It's coming along nicely, slow and steady, nice and easy. Pieces, like I said, primed and drying outside. It's gonna be about a 7-hour project. I got the color for the top half. It's like a harvest gold or something, which is supposed to kind of go with the greenish gold of the slate. Pretty slick. 1/4 inch plywood. Me gusta. Now, I'm not particularly promoting Westpac materials, but this just happens to be what I'm using. It's a Facelift Light 5, it's called. 5-minute mud. This stuff sets up in 5 minutes. Let's go take a look in the patches that we've got going. So here's 2 tips. Here are 2 tips. This is that Westpac 5-minute mud. I used it on the walls. I know it's kind of, you're getting snowblind here, but this is for you, Mr. Striker. A buddy of mine out in Alabama. We were talking about different muds and compounds and stuff. He's having some work done on his house, and I talked about 5-minute mud, and his drywaller got all freaked out because he said 5-minute mud's too hard to sand. Well, first of all, you don't clump it on. You don't clump it on like you own stock in the company, right? You put it on as smooth as possible to start with. I'm going to use regular, just garnet, open face, garnet paper. It's like 120 grit, made in Canada. That is no different, to me, that's no different to sand. Easy. This is, now this stuff's been on the wall about 20 minutes. It's probably 68 degrees outside. I don't know what the relative humidity is. But that little bit right there sanded this, and that hole that was here, smooth enough to be painted over. Here's the first piece of beadboard. I'm a couple hours into this project. Here's the first piece of beadboard. Here's another sanding tip. This is plywood. And feel how rough that is? Since this is real wood, real grain, when you put a water-based primer on there, I'm using a Kelly-Moore water-based primer, interior primer, it always raises the grain. Always. On any natural wood, even engineered wood like plywood, it always raises the grain. If you're using a medium density fiber board or some hard board or something, you do not get raised grain, but because we have grain, so in between your primer coat and your top coat, unless you want to see all these little hairs, you come in, well, you hold on to the sandpaper, but give it a couple passes. You hear the difference? Rough, rough, smooth. So yeah, there's your 2 tips. 5-minute mud. Sand with the grain there to smooth it out, and then when I come in with the top coat, this wood will already be sealed. You won't get any more puckering or raising of the grain. Rough, smooth. Let me show you guys a little trick. This is pretty run-of-the-mill standard 3-rib door casing. And we wanted the chair rail to kind of tie into the casing. We weren't going to go stain gray. We were going to keep it paint gray just for the sake of moisture in here and just tying everything in because the walls are all painted. So what do you do when you don't have an available chair rail that matches this casing? Well, what you do is you get this casing and you modify it to be chair rail. So you get a standard three rib, right? It's the same thing as this, only this is finger joint. It's the same material, it's just finger jointed and paint grade, so it's about half the price of the stain grade stuff. And then what you do is you run it through the table saw and you cut a notch in there, just like this. Can you see that? There it goes. Okay, I came in 1/4 inch, which is the thickness of this plywood, and I came up 1/4 inch, that's just an arbitrary number that I'd like for the overhang. And what that does, that allows you to set it over the top of the molding, or excuse me, over the top of the wainscot, like that, and it gives you overhang. You really don't want to take your molding and then, let me get the other piece here. You don't want to run it across the top, because then you're just lay it on the top like that, because then you're kind of at the mercy of your end cuts and everything, and you have very little adjustment for level, because you do want to keep these level. So I didn't paint this yet. I'm going to paint it, but I wanted to show you the cuts before I painted it, because I think the definition is easier to see. Standard 3 rib, match the door casing. Come up 1/4, out 1/4, just like that. Here's the profile. Whoa. There's the profile. And then you just set it on top. See, you got a whole 1/4 inch you can fill part around. That fits in there nice. You lay it over the top. Let me get it down there. Where we going? This is easier to do with 2 hands. I think it just lays on top, just like that. Yep, and it even stays. Adjust for level there. That's better. So yeah, that's how that's gonna look. That goes behind the toilet. Course slide would be much easier if I'd cut these into smaller pieces, or if I had done a plank. But you know, I like to challenge myself, because I'm challenged. That's the water supply for the toilet, sink water supply, sink waste, mounting bolts for the sink, and the power. I pulled all the finished hardware off. This would have been easier if I pulled the toilet, but well, not that it's too late now, but I'm too far into it. I'm too damn stubborn to pull the toilet, so I'm going to fight with it to fit it back there. I don't know if this fits. I did measure twice. Obviously, I only get the opportunity to cut once. If everything works right, I don't want to have those big chrome escutcheons around the plumbing. I'd like to be able to plumbing to fit tight and be able to caulk it. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. I'm going to mark the studs so I know where to nail. Actually, it's probably, and there's probably one here and then one here. Oh, there's got to be one around this box here. I don't know. Mark the studs. Let's nail this bitch down. What I'm talking about. Yeah. So we're coming up on lunch. And I'm debating whether or not to throw a coat of paint on this. I think I'm going to throw a coat, because I know I'm going to need 2 coats on the wall. It's kind of a harvesty gold, pretty close to that, but I think there's a little more green in it. And I'm half tempted to get a first coat on this upper half. I've got all the walls sanded. This is a 1680 Durapoxy, Kelly-Moore Durapoxy, and I'm going over it with the same stuff, 1680 Durapoxy. Latex on latex, but this is a perfect opportunity for me to sand out any boogers that may have been in the paint, any little nubbins, and smooth the walls out. And I did. So I sanded the lid, I sanded the walls. I'm going to put 1 coat on there, I'm going to put 2 coats on there, and I'm going to put 2 coats of white on there, and then we're going to call this good. Put the sink back in, probably tomorrow, do a little button up caulking, finish caulking, and put the sink in tomorrow, and this will be a 10-hour job. So I'm about 4 hours into it. I had to do a little shrivel trap here. That goes around the plate. The plate sets in there, recesses in there. Because I wanted about a 1/2 inch between the top of this plate and the bottom of that trim. I think I achieved that. I'm real excited about these holes lining up, because I didn't buy any extra of that. You know, I like cutting my materials pretty tight. So anyhow, let's get a coat of yeller, old yeller, or whatever the hell you want to call it, wall accent color on here, and I'm gonna go get myself a bite to eat. The spicy mustard. You guys ready? In 3, 2, 1, Wait, do we go on one or do we go on go? Nah, let's just go. It's wet, so it will darken up here. It's the first coat. It's likely I'm gonna have to put, I'm thinking 3 coats would probably be the best to give us the best coverage, but it's not too ugly. It should dry much darker. Once you can't see the white through it, it'll be a little darker than that. And then once it's dry, it darkens. And anyhow, so that's where it is. It's lunchtime now. Oh, got a little on the, oh, oops. Oh, got a little on the, what's a dealy deal there? No bueno. Okay. It's noon. I'm gonna go grab a bite to eat. Come back and paint some white. Put another coat on that. I don't know. We'll see. So here we are in the morning of day 2. Day 2. I was able to get 2 finished coats last night before I went home. I got 2 finished coats of 1680 Durapoxy, Kellymore Durapoxy. I got 2 coats of 1680 Durapoxy, Kellymore, on the walls. Although I do have to put a 3rd coat on. You can see you can still see through it. It's tough covering over this bright white. I got 1 coat of white, same white as the wainscot on the ceiling, and that's going to be adequate because that's white over white. That's fine. And oh yeah, and I got the tub grouted. So day 2, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to seal the grout. Well, it's called grout sealer, but that's not the product that's in here. I fill it from a gallon container of grout sealer. So I'm going to go through and seal all this grout. It came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how clean that bottom edge came out. Those are drain holes. Where is it? My finger. Drain holes. And I'm going to put another coat on the color. So we've got the slate floor. There's the beadboard. 3rd time's the charm on the color. That 3rd coat covered quite nicely. I still need to put the door back. Door. But I decided I'd leave it off until the very end so I could show you guys the color. Because quite honestly, when the door is open, it'll block quite a bit of it. So here we have our 10-hour facelift. The 10-hour facelift is done. The American Standard sink with the growy valves is back installed. Cleaned up all the chrome. She looking good. Cleaned up and reinstalled the original light fixture. Put all the trim back. Look how bright that is. Flink. The tube light puts out great light. I just have this. Ooh boy, that's got a balance. I'm digging the gold band around the top. That's about a 1-inch band between the top of the tile and the ceiling. It's pretty cool. I like the way that looks. I like the way that looks. And I'll come back in the next few days or week or whenever the homeowner can find the mirror cabinet combo or the mirror and separate cabinet. I don't know, whatever they decide. They aren't finding what they like. So instead of rushing it, I'm just going to leave everything done like this except for those 2 things and come back when they find it and install it. So there you go. There's your 10-hour rebuild. Less than $100 in materials. This beadboard costs about 18 bucks a sheet. There's 2 sheets of that. This stuff's 87 cents a linear foot for this 3-rib finger joint paint grade molding. And I've got about 13 feet of this all the way around. Semi-gloss paint runs 25 bucks a gallon or something, times 2. 1 and 2. Easy breezy. And matching towels. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon. Okay, I'm going to see how this films. Just a quick look with the door back on.